think about the CNG initiative, the Presidential Initiative on Compressed National Gas, is that it has taken time. We've all gone around and we have seen that these are not purchases of finished goods or finished products. It is assembly. So at the same time as helping the inflationary effect, reducing the price of fare, well, at the end of the day, reducing transport costs to the average Nigerian. As well as that, it's also helping to grow the economy. So it's two critical aims are being achieved. And what is important is that I've come to see what is happening with the CNG initiative. Where are the buses, as Nigerians are asking? And I've seen for myself, I've driven them, I've tested them, and I've seen them being assembled. And of course, in the very near future, they'll begin to be rolled out, and the benefit will be available to all Nigerians.
Okay, welcome back. Yes, indeed, that is what we're talking about this morning. As you might have seen in that welcoming slide, we've got Joseph Oshanikme here with us. He is the Director General, National Automotive Development and Design Council, NADDC. Good morning. Thank you for coming on today.
Good morning, Timberland. Good morning.
Okay, so tell us, what is the latest about this CNG initiative?
Yeah, the CNG initiative, as you are aware, is the presidential initiative on CNG, and to ease, apart from creating employment, is to ease the transport, reduce the transport fare. Again, where we are now is about to roll out the CNG vehicles. The presidential initiatives are working with some local manufacturer or local assembler of vehicles to make sure that we convert or produce or assemble some buses, especially the government starting with commercial buses, because that's where the impact will be most first. So we are going to roll out the commercial vehicle soon. So you can see in that clip that the Minister for Finance already inspected some of the facility where these vehicles are being converted or being assembled.
So which one exactly is it? Is it convert, produce, or assemble? Because SKD and CKD are two different things.
Two different things. So just as you said, they are assembled. SKD. Most of the facilities we have in Nigeria are SKD facilities. So we assemble in Nigeria.
So what we're doing is that this is going to cost us about, is it billion or million to import?
Yeah.
How many units?
So I cannot give the specific units now that they are going to roll out. That is going to be rolled out in the next few weeks. But I know the program is to make sure that government provide or support in rolling out about 55,000, which will be buses.
In the first instance, or what?
Yes, within the period of about the first instance. And it's going to comprise of buses, passenger cars, tricycles, and some conversion kits.
So this is, how much is this going to cost anyways?
Yes, for a bus, it costs between 2 to 2.8 million to convert.
So in total, how much are we spending as a country?
Oh, as a country, no, we cannot say this is what the country is going to spend in total, because it's going to be gradual. So as you are producing, you are spending. And what government is going to do with presidential initiative on CNG is the government is providing the seed fund, just the seed fund to start and stimulate the production. So along the line, you can see that a lot of private investors are already going into conversion. So it's not the government spending money for them. As I'm talking to you now, we are about to put together a program where we are bringing in the stakeholders. We are going to roll out the minimum requirement that a workshop have to have in order to be accredited as a conversion center. And by the time this is done, the private investors that are going to drive this process more. Government is only starting and kickstarting it.
Even though we see figures government put, I think they put about 100 billion.
About that, yes.
So how come say we can't put a figure to it?
So no, why I said we can't pick, this is just the beginning. This is just the beginning. So, and I say it's seed fund from the government. which is to kickstart the whole process.
When you speak about investors benefiting, I know you have heard several people also say, look, this clearly goes against the National Automotive Industry Development Plan, which they say we had in 2023, and that government is working across purposes. And as a matter of fact, bringing in CKD, we're importing this already finished product then to assemble them here. And they think, the industry, some stakeholders, that this is not what the plan was. And government is going against that plan.
Okay, the plan you are referring to is the automotive plan. That is
2023.
For 2023. And as of today, my agency is the one as the secretariat or implementing that policy. So when we are looking at that, the policy states have two sections: the first 5 years and the next 5 years. The first 5 years, we are going to develop the SKD facility. And then, after the 5 years, we move to CKD. So that's what we are doing. Presently, we are in the SKD mode, or let me say SKD level, because we need, for us to move from SKD to CKD, we need to produce a lot of components locally. And that's why you could see from what I've been, my engagement in the last few months is focusing on promoting or developing the component part production in Nigeria, because we need to start producing all these components. Then it is after we have all these components, we can now go, we talk about steel, we talk about leather, we talk about plastic, we talk about a lot of painting, and then we can now move from SKD to CKD. As it is now, we are on SKD. And that's what everybody, most of the people in the industry is doing.
Several of them too have argued, which I'm sure you must have heard, that we actually could do some of these things. In fact, that we're already going way ahead, because they say the the PANs of this world, the Volkswagen in this country, the IVMs in this country, were all, in fact, 5 years ago, they were already involved in this process. So why do we then have to go all over, as though relegating all of these ones to the background and coming up with a fresh one?
No, we are not relegating anyone to the background. All the development in the industry, all these people you mentioned are part of the development.
But they're not the ones that got the contracts.
We engage them.
Why are they complaining about the bid process?
I may not be able to speak about the bid process here.
Was there any bid process in the first place? Was there anything to speak about?
Certainly, there was bid process. The bid process went through, and then went through the bid process, and the process was concluded. Then the award took place. But I will not be able to speak more about the bid process, because I was not part of the bid process. My own is to make sure that we regulate the industry and make sure that the industry grows. And that's why we'll be engaging all the participants and the player in the industry. And as I said earlier, for the industry to grow to where we want it to grow, we must first of all focus on development of the component part in Nigeria, because we have the ability and we have the capacity to do that. And since we have the capacity to do that, that is where the economy goes. That's where the multiplier effect is. That is where the employment is. That is where we can really stimulate the economy through the production of the component part. And by the time
we producing any component, we're importing them and assembling them. What are we producing?
That's why we need to grow it. That's why we are focusing more. And that's what's going to happen in the next few years, focusing more in the production of the component part. I will give you, for example, we can produce tire in Nigeria, and we are working with some that we start producing tire. We can produce battery. We have about 2 companies working on that. We can produce all the seats, the foam, the leather, and we can produce that.
Is it that we can produce or we are producing? Which one?
Yeah, that's when I say we can produce, most of them have been produced already. But what I'm working now, because if you listen to about a month ago, the minister mentioned something about signing MOU with the assembler as well as the component parts manufacturer, so that we make sure that when these products are produced by us, when I mean us, Nigeria, we make sure that these assemblers, because some of these assemblers have MOU with foreign company, we says when we are supplying you the complete kit. So part of that, we are going to say, this is Nigeria. It's not going to happen. We immediately can produce this, especially foam. For example, we produce tire, we produce leather. We have to use our own for us, and still also we have to use our own product to produce the vehicle or produce the tricycle we are going to use in Nigeria.
Let me take you up on the issue of CNG, because part of what it is that you're doing is conversion and incorporating. Conversion. Yes. So I'm just wondering if you're building the vehicle from scratch, and that is the design of the vehicle to use CNG. There's no need for conversion there, is there?
Yes.
Conversion would be the ones already using diesel or something else, right?
Oh, yes.
And then converting them to CNG.
Exactly.
That's where conversion comes in.
That's where conversion comes in.
Okay, so if you're building it from scratch and you're incorporating CNG, what do you call that one?
No, that one is fully, it's not conversion really. That one comes already as hybrid, because most of the CNG, they are hybrid, or we call them biofuel. Why is that? Because they still use the PMS or the AGO, which is diesel, as well as the CNG. So that one are built directly, like those one be assembled now in Nigeria are directly built for CNG.
Okay, so I'm wondering, you know, we noticed that a few state governments, for instance, Ogun State government, you know, brought some buses into their own market, into their own space there to help ease transportation. Those buses were not from you, were they?
No.
Have you started supplying anybody yet?
No, we NADDC will not supply anybody. So that's why I said most of the vehicle being as part of the program initiative are given to Nigerians to assemble in Nigeria and supply. So NADDC as an agency of government are not involved in direct supply of vehicle.
Oh, okay. So, Judge, you just have a few people. You have, will I say, people who are involved in the program.
Yes.
You're not aware that any of the people who are involved in the program have started supplying?
No, but they are producing. That's assembly. They are assembling. Sorry, they are assembling.
They are assembling. Okay. So, are you able to keep an eye on what is happening, either with their conversion or their incorporating CNG into these systems?
Yes, we've visited some of them, and then in 2 days' time we are going to have another stakeholder meeting on the kits, because if you look at conversion process or installation of CNG process, you have to follow you can't compromise anything. Start with the kits, the cylinder. The cylinder have to be ISO standard, and SON pick their own standard also, because they have to domesticate that standard also. So we have to follow that standard all through everything. For example, you take cylinder, you have to look at the material tests, you have to look at type, you have to look at a lot of things in that cylinder to make it work. So where all these things work together for you to get ISO certification. And if there is any change in your facility, if there is any change in quantity you produce, if there is any change in material, that standard is already invalid. You have to go through that process again, because safety is priority here.
I'm glad that you highlight the fact that safety is priority, because only a few weeks, about 2 weeks ago, there was an accident that occurred in Ogun State involving a truck which was carrying some gas canisters, a very big truck. The truck itself was actually running on CNG, and I understand that the Minister of State for Petroleum actually paid a visit to the state, because that was a matter of concern. That explosion that happened, I can't remember the road now, but it affected people around the road. But what they found was that the gas canisters which the truck was carrying, was transporting gas, were intact. But the CNG canisters, which was powering the truck itself, it does appear that 1 or 2 of them were damaged. So it appears that the explosion came from those CNG canisters. Is it an incident you're aware of?
Yes, it's an incident we are aware of. Yes, and that's part of what we are working on these new ones. Because before now, the standard was not available. But as I'm talking to you now... Before now, the standards were not available? No, when I say not available, but what I mean by the standard not available then is, before now, before federal government come up with this CNG program, some vehicles were running on CNG before then. And because they were running on CNG before then, they were not part of this new initiative. But what we have done so far now is to ensure that all the necessary things, all the necessary process are followed in the conversion process. Because if you look at that one was converted. So we want to make sure that most of the conversion process are stick it to, because we are now going to come out with accreditation of conversion centers. So any center that is not accredited by our agency will not be allowed to convert here in Nigeria. So we make sure that this process are followed. And in doing that, we work with a lot of agencies. For example, we're working with SON to come out with the standard. Because SON has released the standard about 2-3 months ago for conversion process. So NADDC has to make sure that we are going to accredit them. Not only are we going to accredit, even the personnel, we are going to make sure that the personnel that are going to work on the conversion are certified. And then we are going to use, we have a sector skill council that are going to train these people. We are going to work with NAITT, we are going to work with MBTE to make sure that the true certification is done. And after that, we ensure strict compliance. So because safety, as I said, is key. And until we ensure all these processes are full and then comply with, then is when we are going to issue certification. And then we are going to work with NMDP, that is Nigerian mid and downstream, because they are going to be the one regulating the movement of gas from one point to the other. So we work with all these agencies.
You just said something, that conversion was already happening before the federal government came up with this, and they might not have complied with the current standards that SON has set. Is there a way to, because when any of these accidents happen, it's going to affect whether people want to, consider conversion or not, or whether they'll be apprehensive whenever it is that they see a bus, seeing CNG on it, especially since you're looking at mass transportation. So are you looking for a way to, at least if it's not on your mandate, to cars already done conversion before now might need to double check their own canisters just to be sure that safety is a priority, and if they have standards, if their canisters are not standard canisters, so to speak, maybe they can be upgraded.
Thank you. It's within our mandate.
It's within your mandate.
And what we are doing concerning that now is we are working with the gas, that is Nigeria mainstream and downstream regulatory agency.
NMDPRA.
We are going to make sure, because that's what we are putting together through the Presidential Initiative. What we are putting together is NGVMS, that's Nigerian Gas Vehicle Monitoring System. By the time we put it together, it's going to be connected to various agencies that has to play a role in this gas CNG process. So by the time we put all these things together, we are going to release that soon. By the time we put it together, you cannot even buy gas if you don't comply with the standard. Nobody is going to sell gas to you. So we are going to label vehicle based on the conversion process. And in converting, you are going to use the right kits. If you don't use the right kits, you cannot move on to the vehicle, to filling station to buy your gas. And it is when you have been certified by NADDC, by SON, by NDPMRA, then road safety also will be involved, because they are going to monitor compliance on the road. So all these systems are going to be put together by Presidential Initiative.
I hope they're going to be in one place, not that somebody will have to go here, then go there.
No, one place. A system. That's why I call it Nigerian Gas Vehicle Monitoring System. Well, that system is a software that's going to power the whole thing.
These concerns are very genuine, because in India, in fact, in Los Angeles in February, there was this truck, this clean air CNG power truck containing 200 gallons of CNG, pressure to 3,000 psi. The reports that exploded after they followed through all their processes. So this, not one, several in different cities there. So these are concerns that we have here, and how people will handle them, because look, we know how regulation can be. Sometimes they look the other way. So hoping that some of these things will be really adhered to.
Certainly.
To see how they can, because even after they adhere to all their processes, you still have those explosions. So how much more are we bringing them in here? We need to be sure. But let's go to Ayo. He's got questions for you as well.
Well, thank you, Chamberlain. I think that's the way I would like to begin, Mr. Shanikwe. It's good to see you again. You talked about those standards. Now, you've spoken to the conversion side. You've spoken to the shops, which the federal government says they're going to have about 100 in 18 states at the first instance. The first question that I would want to find out is, the level of awareness seems rather low so far. All we hear is, this is going to happen. But seeing the incidents that Malkwe raised, which my Chamberlain just corroborated, it sends chills down people's spines. So perhaps there is a need for some kind of awareness from your agency and every other relevant stakeholder among government to pass on the information to people, because a good number of them may not be watching this program. What's the plan to give people the necessary information about this CNG initiative of the federal government?
Okay, what we have been doing mostly now is engagement of the stakeholders, because this is the foundation laying process. So it is when we lay those foundation with the stakeholders, then we go out. We know that we are ready to move ahead, and then we go out with the sensitization. The sensitization is going to begin this week or next week about conversion process, about what you need to do your conversion, the conversion process, and then the use or how to fill the CNG or how to transport the CNG. So all this one we are going to start rolling out those very soon.
Well, Mr. Shanikwe, one of the things that you have also said, yes, one of the things that you've also said is that you're coming up with some kind of national occupational standards for the conversion and maintenance of electric vehicles and CNG vehicles in the country. We understand from one of the spokesperson of the president that something in the region of $50 million is being invested by private sector operators into that space in this country. Now, where the issue comes up is that of the enabling environment for them to invest, recoup their investment, and make some profit. Where we find a situation, where we find such a situation where these people are not able to recoup their resources as and when due, the challenge then would be what happens. This is where what Chamberlain raised, Amalkwe raised, could be where people may now be compromising standards, dropping the quality of their services just to make a little buck. How do you monitor these standards, especially since you have so many states and so many conversion centers across the country?
Okay, for the National Occupational Standard, the National Occupational Standard is out. We've done the validation process, and then all the relevant stakeholders were involved. And so the National Occupational Standard concerning the CNG, concerning EVs are out for that. So again, we said the accreditation process is going to take not only the facility, but also the personnel involved in the conversion. The personnel involved have to be taken through the National Occupational Standard and then issue certificate. So there are going to be certification for that process. So what we are doing is, by the time we accredit you, we are not only accrediting your facility, we are accrediting the personnel involved in the conversion. So if you don't have the minimum required personnel, we are not going to accredit you. And the people we accredit, that's the personnel, will also be held liable if they fail to do what they are doing, just as the facility is going to be held liable also. Mm-hmm. So concerning what you raised concerning the investment, we know what it takes to convert a vehicle. If you do your mathematics well, that is the investor. If they do their mathematics well, they will know this is what it will cost, and this is our margin. If you put the margin there, certainly they are going to make what I call economic profit. So if that is done, I don't see why anybody will want to cut corner. And anyway, if you cut corner, what we are going to do, you are off immediately. Your accreditation is going to be withdrawn immediately.
I guess one of the issues...
There's no way
Yeah, I guess one of the issues around that will be in the area of monitoring, which we hope you will also bring to us shortly. Just one last question from me here. Not too long ago, you told us, through some other means that there are just about 6% vehicle ownership in Nigeria as of 2018. Can you confirm that? And is there anything that needs to be done to change or to upscale that number? Is that the global best practice?
Yes, we need to upscale that number, because you talk about a country like South Africa, they're already on 17-18% vehicle ownership. So we also can upscale that. And for us to upscale that, that's what we are working toward. We have to start assembling, manufacturing our own vehicle here. We need to start producing what we are consuming. And by doing that, we'll be able to bring down the price. And for us to be able to do that also, just as I mentioned to Simbalin, we have to ensure that a lot of the components used in making that vehicle are produced here in Nigeria. And we are already engaging those involved in local content, that is production of local components. So immediately, as we are growing the percentage of the local component, we'll be able to reduce the cost of vehicle. And then one other thing that the current government is doing to improve that is credit scheme. The Minister for Industry, Trade and Investment has released some government credit initiative concerning that, especially credit scheme. So when this credit scheme is in operation, and most of the countries that have higher vehicle ownership rates, they achieve that because they don't use their money, they don't buy vehicle 100% cash down. But here in Nigeria, we are still doing that. By the time we start with credit scheme, and the credit scheme is fully operational, Nigeria will be able to buy vehicle even when they have 20% of the price. With the 20%, you'll be able to buy and then be paying back. So when the credit scheme is running well, we'll be able to increase that percentage.
Any idea when that will be?
Yeah, the credit scheme, I know part of it has been released, and I know government is still working on doing more in that respect.
Okay, this CNG business is something that really needs to be strictly adhered to, because the explosion rate is there. When exposed to heat, if any slight adjustment there, you could be dealing with something larger. What about the fueling points? Yeah, how is it? Because you also have to refuel more frequently than petrol if you're using CNG, because it has low density.
That's what I said. As at today, we have a center in Obajana, and then in Ajaokuta, and then we have in southern parts of Nigeria. The NMDPR, they are the one regulating gas, and as I said, they regulate not only the transportation of the gas, the dispensing of the gas, the storage of the gas. All this one have to be regulated. So based on we are working with them, and all of us work together as one, as let's say all the agencies come together and work in unison to ensure that this thing is done and done properly.
Mr. Joseph Oshanikme is Director General, National Automotive Development and Design Council, NADDC. Thank you for coming on. All the best to you.
Thank you.
All right, we will be back in a moment, but don't forget that on the hour will be Business Morning on Sunrise Daily.